Last time we heard about Yggdrasil, the world tree, and we heard about the 9 worlds of the gods. And today we're going to hear about Odin's sacrifice for wisdom. Now there are 2 great wells that lie among the roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree. And one of these wells is near Asgard, but no one may drink out of this well. The only people there are the 3 sisters known as the Holy Norns, and they guard it, and they take water from this well to nourish Yggdrasil, so that the tree of life may keep green and robust and strong. This well is called Urda's well, and in this well swim 2 beautiful white swans whose song is heard all the way into Asgard. Now the other well that lies at one of these great roots is called the Well of Knowledge, and it is guarded by old Mimir, the wise. And whomever drinks of this well knows all of the things that will come to be in the world. So Odin, the All-Father, has 2 great black ravens, and these black ravens are called Hugin and Munin, and they fly through all of the worlds every single day, and then they return to Asgard, the home of the gods, and they perch on Odin's shoulders, one on his left and the other on his right, and they tell him of all the things that they see and hear. And one day the ravens did not return, and Odin got worried because this had never happened before. And he said to himself, I fear for me, for Hugin, lest he not come back, but I watch more for Munin, for he shall return. The next day, however, it did not play out the way Odin thought it might. The ravens both returned, and they perched one on each one of his shoulders, and they told him of shadows and forebodings, dark things that were to come. Now Odin did not speak to the dwellers in Asgard of what the ravens had told him, but Frigga, who was his queen, saw in Odin's eyes the shadows and forebodings of things to come, and she knew. And when at last he spoke to her about these things, she said, do not strive against what must take place, for you cannot change this. Let us go to the Holy Norns and see if the shadows and forebodings will remain once you have looked into their eyes. So soon, Odin was prepared to go to Urda's well. And when he was getting ready for his journey, he took off the guise of the All-Father, and I told you last time that I would tell you what he looked like. So what I will tell you now is that he removed his eagle helmet, and he removed his golden armor, and he left his spear behind. And instead, he donned the cloak of deep blue and carried a traveler's staff with him as a walking stick. And now he called himself Vegtam, the Wanderer. On the way to Mimir's well, which was close to Jotunheim, where the giants lived, he came upon a giant who was riding a great stag. And a great stag is a very large deer. Now Odin had a great power, and it was this. To a human, he seemed human, but to a giant, he seemed a giant. He asked the giant, who art thou, O brother, when he saw him riding on his great stag? And the wisest of giants answered him, I am Vafthrudner, the wisest of giants. Now Odin knew of the wisest of the giants, and many went to this fellow to gain great wisdom. However, those who went to him had to answer his riddles. And if they failed to answer correctly, the giant took off their heads. So Odin said, I am Vegtam the Wanderer, and I know who thou art, O Vafthrudner. I will strive to learn something from thee. Then the giant laughed. Ho, said he, I am ready for a game with thee. Dost thee know the stakes? It goes like this, my head to thee, if I cannot answer any question thou wilt ask, and if thou canst not answer any questions that I may ask, then thy head goes to me. Ho, ho, ho. And now we shall begin. Tell me the name of the river that divides Asgard from Jotunheim. Odin said placidly, Ifling is the name of that river, Ifling, that is dead cold, yet never frozen. Thou hast answered correctly, O wanderer. But I have more questions for thou. What are the names of the horses that day and night drives across the sky? That would be Skinfaxa and Hrimfaxa, the wanderer answered. Now Vafthrudner was startled to hear one say the names that were known only to the wisest of the giants and to the gods. His brows furrowed in worry as he thought of his last question, because after one more, it would be the wanderer's turn to do the asking. Tell me, what is the name of the plain on which the last battle will be fought? Oh, said Vegtam the Wanderer, who was really Odin. That is the plain of Vigard, the plain that is 100 miles long and 100 miles across. You are correct 3 times, Wanderer. Now it was time for Vafthrudner to do the answering. What will be the last words that Odin will whisper into the ear of Baldur, his dear son? The wanderer asked. Very startled was the giant Vafthrudner at that question. He sprang up to the ground and he looked keenly at the stranger, suspicious of his question. Only Odin knows what his last words to Baldur will be, and only Odin would ask that question. Thou art Odin, O wanderer, and thy question I cannot possibly answer. Then, said Odin, if thou wouldst keep thy head, then answer me this. What price will Mimir ask for a draught from the well of wisdom that he guards? O Odin, Mimir will ask thy right eye as a price, said Vafthrudner. Will he ask no less a price than that? Asked Odin. He will ask no less a price. Many have come to him for a draught from the well of wisdom, but no one has yet given the price. Now I have answered thy question, the giant said. O Odin, now give up thy claim on my head and let me go on my way. Odin did just this, and Vafthrudner went on his way, riding on his great stag. Odin, too, almost went on his way back toward Asgard. It was a terrible price that Mimir would take, and it troubled him greatly when he heard it. His right eye. For all time to come, he would be without his right eye. He considered giving up his quest for wisdom, and for some time, Odin begged him, the wanderer, All-Father, wandered, neither turning toward Asgard nor toward Mimir's well. Instead, he went toward the fires of Muspelheim, reminding himself of the dangers that lie there. And then he turned and went toward Niflheim, seeing the place of darkness and dread. And he knew that the world must not be left between these two worlds, which would clash again and be destroyed with fire, or would gather itself back into darkness and nothingness if nothing were to be done. He, the eldest of gods, would need the wisdom to save the world. And so, with his face stern, thinking of his loss and pain, Odin All-Father turned and he went toward Mimir's well. When he arrived, he saw Mimir sitting there, guarding the well. And with his deep eyes, he stared upon the water. Now Mimir drank every single day from this well, and he knew who it was who stood before him. And he said, "Hail, O Odin, eldest of the gods." Then Odin made reverence to Mimir. Very respectful was he to the wisest person. "I would drink from your well, Mimir," said he, simply. "Oh, there is a price to be paid," answered Mimir. "All who have come here to drink have shrunk from paying that price." "Will you, O Odin, pay that price?" Mimir said, as if wondering aloud. "I will not shrink from the price, Mimir. It is the price that must be paid." "Then you shall drink," said Mimir, and he filled up a great horn with water from the well and handed it to Odin. Odin took the horn in both hands, and he drank, and he drank, and he drank. And as he drank, all of the future became clear to him. He saw all the sorrows and troubles that would fall upon humans, and all the sorrows and troubles that would fall upon the gods. But he saw too why the sorrows and troubles had to happen. And he saw how those sorrows and troubles might be used so that gods and humans, by being noble and strong in the days of sorrow and trouble, would leave in the world a force that one day, a far, far off day, would finally destroy the evil that brought such terror and sorrow and despair into the world in the first place. Then, when the All-Father had drunk out of the great horn that Mimir had given to him, he put his hand up to his face and he plucked out his right eye. Terrible was the pain that Odin All-Father endured. But he made no grimace. He did not moan, he did not groan. He simply bowed his head and pulled his cloak in front of his face as Mimir took the eye and let it sink deep, deep into the water. Down the eye fell into the water of the well of wisdom, and that is where the eye of Odin stayed, shining up through the clear water as a sign to all who came to that place of the price that the eldest of the gods had paid for wisdom.